Hello everybody, welcome to Wholesome Sexuality. My name is Vera Chikezie-Oke and I am the sexologist for Wholesome Sexuality. Let's talk about sex. Today, we're talking about communication in sex. I mean, a lot of people go about, I've been talking to my spouse, she's not listening to me, he's not listening to me, he's not doing what I want, she's not doing what I want. Are you communicating effectively? Let's take it from the top. What exactly is communication? Dictionary meaning says communication is what you say, how you say, when you say. Vera says communication is what you say, how you say it, to whom you are saying it to, when you say it, until there is a mutual understanding between you and the person you are talking to. That is when communication is complete. Communication is not complete until there is a mutual understanding. Now, there are different types of communication. I'm sure you'll be wondering, are we in social studies class? Or are we in a history class? No, we are still talking about sex. There are different types of communication. Two types, basic. One is communication verbal, and the other is non-verbal communication. Verbal communication is basically the ones you use your auditories to do, the ones when you speak, you are making verbal communication. But non-verbal are the ones you do with signs, with your body language, your hands, your thoughts, your instincts. And non-verbal communication is usually done between two people that have had some sort of communion, understanding. I mean, I can't see somebody walking on the street and try to give the person sign language. The person will be wondering, what's she saying? What's she trying to say to me? So the issue people have with non-verbal communication is the fact that you could just wake up. Some people think they can just wake up and just, my spouse should know what I'm feeling, should know what I'm thinking, should know what I'm trying to communicate. No, it takes communion, it takes understanding between two people before you could get to using non-verbal communication. All right, don't go too far. Let's bring it back. Now we're talking about communication in sex. There are three types of communication in sex. I named them the 3 A's. So we have ahead, we have amid, and we have after. So if you have a dictionary beside you could just check what ahead means. Ahead basically is the communication you do before sex. So in anticipation of sex, in preparation of sex, you have some sort of communication with your spouse. It's better done outside of the bedroom. Yes, because when you have such conversations in the bedroom, the tension is already high, the anticipation is already high, somebody is not listening, somebody is not understanding, somebody just wants to jump on the other, right? So preferably, when we're not thinking about sex, when we're not in the mood to have sex, we sit down, we talk about it. Ahead, before you have sex, what are your expectations from this intercourse we're going to have? What do you stand to gain? What is your goal? Are you seeking for satisfaction or are you seeking for pleasure? Are you seeking for bonding or are you seeking for excitement? Do you want to have it in the bedroom or do you want to have it in the study? Do you want to have it in the kitchen? Do you want to have it on the staircase? These are communications you have before you have sex. The good thing about having communication ahead of, it prepares the mind, it sets the expectation right. Then, on to the second type of communication in sex. It's called amid, from the word in the midst, in between. So it's basically the communication you have during sex. Now, your spouse is touching you, you don't like it. He's doing something, something he likes or he feels you like and you don't like we say here in Wholesome Sexuality, audio is always better. She touches you where you don't like. It might be a moan. It might actually be verbal. It might not. It might be non-verbal. That was why I had to start by saying the difference between verbal and non-verbal communication, right? So communication amid sex, communication during sex is usually non-verbal. Sometimes you would have gotten to the peak and you're so excited, and then there's a cut short of the tempo, right? Your spouse should be able to know when a moan means go ahead and when a moan means stop. A moan that means pain and a moan that means pleasure. Your spouse should understand these things. But you see, if you have not communicated ahead, there is no how he or she will understand what you're trying to communicate amid. Now let's go to the third type of communication in sex, and that is called after. Communication after. I call it, my favorite, appraisal. It's called appraisal. So you go to the office, you've done your job in the office, and you sit with your boss. No, most times we sit with our boss and we ask, what have I done right? What have I done wrong? Did I meet your expectation? Am I doing it well? Am I not doing it well? This comes after you've had sex, not necessarily immediately after, because sometimes you might have had a mind-blowing experience and you can't even talk. There are some experiences you have that you can't even say your name at the end, right? After can be maybe a day after, or maybe a few hours later, or maybe the morning after, and you're asking, baby, how was last night? Did I do well? Did I meet your expectation? But you see, there can't be an appraisal if there was no ahead. There can't be an appraisal if there was no expectation. So you see, these three forms of communication has to be done effectively for you to confidently say that I and my spouse are on the same page sexually. When you want to have sex with your spouse, communication is very key. You need to talk about how, you need to talk about where, you need to talk about when. I'm not ruling out the area of spontaneity, but like we all know, life happens. It's not all the time that you just, see your spouse somewhere and then you're just triggered to have sex. But when you want to have effective sex, or will I say sensual sex, or really you want to make love to your spouse, you will need to plan these things. You will need to communicate it. I mean, you told your spouse that, okay, this is what I like, this is what I expect from you when we have sex, right? You've told your spouse this, and your spouse has told you, okay, I want this, I like this. You guys sit down, you negotiate, and know how you want to go about having sex. Yes, it's not really mechanical, but sometimes we need to make these things work for our marriage to be sweeter. So when you've communicated effectively your expectation from your sexual experience, when you are now having sex, you are no longer surprised. The surprise factor doesn't come in. You're not shocked about what you see because your spouse is aiming to meet up with the expectation you have given each other. Then appraisal. You come back and you say, oh, babes, that thing you did was fantastic. You really blew my mind. There cannot be mind-blowing if there was no expectation of how the mind would be blown. I will say that again. There cannot be mind-blowing if there was no set-out expectation of how the mind is going to be blown, because you wouldn't even know what happened, right? So communicate before sex, communicate during sex, communicate after sex, and send me a DM and tell me what exactly you experienced. Thank you for joining us today. It's been a wonderful time talking to you and bringing to your screen wholesome sex. Till I come your way again, I remain Vera Chikezie-Oke. Thank you.